Let's get it, yeah. We study in ancient civilizations. Geography's themes are interrelated. We study the sources, interpret historical forces, so we know what the story is. Are you ready, historians?
Why do we even study history? Let's start there. First of all, it's awesome. In this course, we'll be traveling back in time and around the world to learn amazing stories, discover fascinating facts, and investigate mind-blowing mysteries about early civilizations from all around the planet. More specifically, by studying our past, we can better understand current events, which makes us better prepared for whatever the future brings. We also practice critical thinking skills by interpreting information from a variety of sources. History teaches us about different cultures and how they've influenced the world we live in, which helps us learn respect for others. Perhaps most importantly, we can deepen our knowledge about cultural heritages, our own and others, and how they've shaped who we are today. This helps us understand ourselves and our place in the world. Welcome to Ancient World History. Our objectives today are to identify and describe the traits of cultural hearths, explain how geography contributed to the development of cultural hearths, and describe the impact of cultural hearths. Are you ready, historians? So, what exactly is a cultural hearth? You probably have an idea of what culture is. Simply put, culture is a way of life for a group of people. But what is a hearth? In the past, a hearth was the place in a home where a fire was usually kept for heating and cooking. It could be a fireplace, or maybe an oven or a stove. For centuries, the hearth was usually a home's central and most important feature. Even today, everything within the home that is important to the family often emanates from the hearth. Discussions, traditions, values, love. You might say it's where a family develops and flourishes. So, what do you think a cultural hearth is? You're on the right track. A cultural hearth is a region where early civilizations developed and flourished. Certain traits were necessary for a cultural hearth, including access to resources, a large population, and an organized political structure, or government. With these three in place, cultures were able to develop and expand. So why are cultural hearths important as we study ancient history? First, these are where early civilizations first started growing into larger communities. They were important for sharing ideas and trading things. That activity meant cultural hearths were often the source of new tools, ideas, and ways of doing things that would catch on and spread to surrounding cultures. So, how big of a role did geography play in the development of cultural hearths? So large that we're going to devote an entire upcoming lesson on that topic, but for now, let's just hit on the main points, shall we? First of all, a steady food supply is needed to sustain a society. To provide that food, people need fertile land to grow crops and sustain the animals that live there. So take a moment here to predict what types of land will not be seen in cultural hearths. If you said unfriendly terrain like frozen tundra, jagged mountains, or huge dry deserts, then give yourself a pat on the back. People also need natural resources to build shelters. Humans have for centuries used materials from their environment to build homes such as these. Next, people must have an economic base for trade. Food crops can be part of that base, but what else do they need? people need natural resources to create products. Examples include clay to make pottery and bricks, various metals to make weapons, tools, and jewelry, and cotton or wool for clothing and blankets. But we still haven't mentioned the most important geographic feature that cultural hearths need. What do you think that might be? Of course, it's water, but it may be even more important than you realize. Sure, humans can survive only a few days without drinking water, so there's that. But water is also essential to food crops and animals, which makes it vital to all of our food sources. You'll learn in this course that all early civilizations used various methods of irrigation to maintain their food supplies. Water was also used for transportation between early civilizations. Rivers and seas in particular helped to connect people to one another. Finally, physical features of the earth often gave a civilization protection from invaders. Intimidating features like mountains and deserts helped provide an important level of defense. This combination of geographic features stabilized civilizations, allowing people to permanently settle in an area, which led to many further developments. Think back to the hearth and how families gathered there. How the most important events for families happened or were talked about there. Cultural hearths are where civilizations formed because people gathered in large numbers in a central place. The most important aspects of civilization came from there. Those hearths shared cultural traits with other civilizations, and these exchanges often led to the spread of new technologies and ideas that allowed civilizations to progress and expand. This is called cultural diffusion, the spread of a culture's beliefs, practices, and items, like the worship of many gods, a government ruled by a king, or beautiful pottery to store food. Take a moment now to predict how cultural diffusion occurs. Here's a hint. There's 3 answers. Cultural diffusion happens in one of 3 ways: migration, or travel, trade, and conquest, or war. Each of these is a reason for interaction between people of different cultures. Those interactions led other civilizations to adopt some, or perhaps many, of the attributes from a cultural hearth. Throughout human history, cultural diffusion has impacted the development of all civilizations as they interact and share ideas. These hearths generally started out small, but many resources and a growing population allowed them to become hubs of trade, invention, and culture. Once a hearth's ideas, practices, and technologies were adopted by nearby societies, this led to the blend and spread of new ones. And from there, these traits could even spread all over the world, influencing the other civilizations who would adopt and adapt them in their own unique ways. Cultural hearths are regions where early civilizations developed and flourished, and served as launch pads for other civilizations. They included large populations, organized governments, and access to resources, all vital in their development. Also important were geographic features like access to water and other natural resources that provided necessities for the people who lived there. Once those needs were met, people made permanent settlements, formed civilizations, and then spread their advancements throughout the region and the rest of the world. Next time, we're going to take an in-depth look at the most important factor in the development of early civilizations. Until then, historians keep uncovering the past and looking to the future. And of course, remember to always be clever.